Howdy gang. As you can see, I've freed myself of the tether of the cabled headphone and mic set, so we'll be trying a new sound system today and seeing how it works out. First thing I really want to say though is I want to send out warm wishes and hope for speedy recovery to Mrs. Nancy Reagan. I grew up with President and Mrs. Reagan in the White House, and from what I understand, she took a bit of a fall, broke some ribs. That can be problematic at any age. Moving on from that, though, for a little over a year, the Paris, France International Airport and Manchester, England Airport have had holographic staff, if you will. They've actually got kiosks, one male, one female, at each airport, that have a holographic projection as you go into the security check area to get screened and checked and get on your flight and everything. And both airport managers love them because they're a programmed loop. They're not interactive or responsive in any way, but what they do is go through all the facts, regulations, information on what you're allowed, not allowed to have on the plane, if you've got liquids, how many ounces, how you're supposed to seal it and dispose of it, the whole 9 yards. Now they're both saying they love these systems because they're a programmed loop. They don't get distracted by things going on around them. People talking to them doesn't get them off subject. They don't forget things. They don't need to go on breaks. And they can literally do their job 24 hours a day. That being said, and letting you know about it, there are several international airports here in the U.S., mostly in the Northeast on the East Coast, who are looking at taking it one step further, as we as Americans tend to do. They're actually looking at some sort of, whether it's just a smart response program, a speech response, or whether it's some sort of minor line AI. The robots are coming, they're going to take over. But they're looking at an enhanced program to put in. That's basically going to do the same thing, except rather than being at the intro to the security screening, they're going to be interactive guide systems, basically navigational assistance, where you can walk up, I'm in B section, I need to get gate G88, how do I get there? And they take your response and give you directions on how to get to where you're going. Now, as I was saying, whether these are going to be, fully, some sort of minor line AI, or just a speech response program that takes keywords and elements from what you've asked to give you a pre-programmed response, I don't know yet. There's not that much out there. Still looking at putting in systems. Quite possibly, day one, it'll have all the information. You're not going to have a day one new person who doesn't know the airport that well, misdirecting you in the wrong direction and causing you to lose your flight. Plus, more than likely, if they've got any brains, they'll have the system doesn't know the answer to your question to actually direct you to a living help and assistance information desk person who can look it up or already knows what you need. Answer to your question. So, personally, I find it rather cool. And thus, I want to bring it to your attention. Next thing I want to talk about, though, is the Keystone pipeline. Oh my God. Yes, we've all heard it all over the news. It's been debated for months. But I was looking into it, looking at some stuff, and found a couple interesting points that the media hasn't put out so much. We already know the Chinese have an offer on the table. They want it. They want the oil. And it's a better offer than the Canadians are asking from us. Yeah, think about that. The Canadians, our allies to the north, our northern border folk, good buddies to the north, have set aside a better offer than what they're asking of us to do the, hey guys, you want this? And we know that, and the environmentalists' big thing is even so much, the money involved and everything. That's usually not something that they bother with, how much money it's going to cost. That's irrelevant. That's a government problem. But that it's going to be these horrible scars on the land, because there's generally two ways in which Canada can develop the oil sand, natural oil resources. One is, and they're using both, by the way. They're using both. One is to dig these huge pits in the ground, literally load up dump trucks full of the oil sands and send it off to a facility to be heated and pressurized to get the oil out, leaving these huge, ugly, quarry-like scars in the earth. The other is to drill pipelines, pipe holes down, lines down into the ground, and then pump in superheated steam under high pressure, which then infiltrates and is pushed out into the rock where the oil sands are at, where the oil sand rock where the oil's at, which will then push the oil back out, causes it to seep out, go into the network of tunnels, and be pumped out like any normal, like we're used to seeing in the news and old movies and such, oil drilling platforms, pumping out the oil. Okay, the thing that hasn't been put out there is that Canada is developing this regardless of who gets the oil. It's a natural resource that they're going to develop, and the only way it could really be stopped would be some sort of international lockdown or interdiction stopping them from doing this. And we have problems getting those done against groups, individuals, countries that are developing things like nuclear weapons or committing mass genocides, killing tens of thousands of people. The natural rights of a nation to develop their natural resources, it's not going to happen. So, Canada is developing this resource. And just so you've got a clear picture of it, it's the largest oil sand deposit in the world known to date. It's roughly the size of Florida. Look at that. It's roughly the size of Florida. And not at today's usage levels, but at the projected increase in user demand, it's estimated that it will provide enough oil to supply Canada and the U.S. for the next century. For 100 years. With an increase in demand, if it stays as projected as it will go for the next century. Think about that. How much can we reduce importing from overseas? And oh my God, the pipeline. We could have spills, there'll be contamination. Let me inform you some on the pipelines and how they work. It's not just a pipe buried underground or run along on supports like you see on some of the pipeline videos of the pipeline in Alaska. And it's not just a pipe either. What this pipeline is, it's a multi-layer pipe. The inner layer carries the oil. We carry it from Canada to our processing plants to turn it into gasoline down in Texas and other regions across the U.S., mostly along the Gulf Coast. That inner layer of pipe carries the oil. Then there's an outer pressurized layer that's also full of sensors. If that inner layer gets a breach, a hole in it, and the oil starts to leak, it hits that inner layer that sets off the sensors. As soon as it does, it notifies repair systems, sensing centers, and personnel along the pipeline. We got a leak. In addition, it clamps off, turns off the flow at the last breaker station, and clamps down at the next one, thus minimizing the amount of oil that spills. So we're not going to wind up with, like we had a couple years ago in the Gulf, oil just spilling everywhere, getting into rivers and contaminating massive areas. It auto-locks itself down, minimizing the spillage and the harm to the ecosystem, as well as alerting all the sensor guys and maintenance guys both ways up and down the pipeline that we've got a spill, we've got a breach. Get up here and fix this shit. On top of that, outside of that second layer with the sensors, there's a third reinforced layer that's made to contain initial spillage. So the sensors go off, and then it hits another layer to keep it in. So you've got further protection against spillage and contamination. Now, let's take that compared to a pipeline in Canada running out to their west coast and going on to Chinese oil freighters to take it to China to be processed and used in China. Now you've got a freighter sailing across the Pacific Ocean full of the oil. Something happens there. Okay, they're multi-hull to protect it as well. But you've got storms. Okay, one hasn't sunk in years. But now you've got also less controls. If it spills on the ground, it's there. You can can dig it up, you can fix it, clean it up. Spills out at sea, now you've got a floating, ranging oil slick going wherever the tide, the current, the wind wants to take it. So I guess summarizing down, one, the oil sand deposits in Canada are going to be developed. And the Canadians offered it to us. And not even hey, the Chinese are offering us this. You want to match or beat it? No, they said, hey, you want this, guys? Why? We fought 2 world wars together. This part's just my hypothesis. We've been friends and allies for about 200 years. Since the last time we had a skirmish or anything between us was the War of 1812, which technically ended in around 1814. So we got about 198 years of being buddies, of being neighbors and friends. So they came to us with, hey guys, you want this? One, you don't insult a friend like that. We're going to offer something like that, and not even hey, beat what they offered. They're offering this, beat it. No, just, hey, you want to go in on us with this? We'll develop it, pipe it down to you, you can develop it, and we both get the benefits of the gas. Sound good? To me? Fuck yeah. I'll take it, thanks. But it's going to be developed. Canada wants us to have it to the point where they're giving our government time to work through their crap to be able to approve this. The Chinese are cash in hand willing to go now. So the environmentalists, it's going to get developed. They can't stop it. It's not in the U.S. They can't get U.S. regulations against it. All they can do is block the pipeline, which means it goes to China, causing the possibility of larger, more dangerous, environmental hazards. It costs jobs. And just make it harder for us to maintain our standard of living. Oil's going to get more expensive and harder to get. In this case, it's coming from our neighbor with 100-year estimated maintenance, able to maintain us and Canada capability. So, that's the rocket I want you to bounce around in your noggin, see if you got a few sparks, see if it makes sense to you. If so, let me know. Hit the like or the dislike button down below if you see fit. You want to hit the subscribe. There's a reason I've only got a few videos out as of yet. But let me know what you think. That's the rocks for your noggin today. And if you'd be so kind, let me know what you like better, the old headphone and mic system, or this new mic I've got running. Thanks. Keep your head down. I'll catch you next time.